You know that feeling when you're driving? That sense of being connected to the road, solid and in control? We're going to talk about something you experience every single time you get behind the wheel, but probably don't think about much: the actual skeleton of your car. Right. That feeling, the way your car grips the road, how it flexes over a bump, whether it feels totally rock solid or kind of wobbly, that's not just your tires or your suspension. No, that is the car's foundational skeleton, its chassis, hard at work. It defines pretty much everything: how it handles, its strength, and just the overall vibe you get from the driver's seat. So, what exactly is this invisible structure that's so important to how we drive? Well, let's pull back the curtain and take a look. Okay, think of it just like a human skeleton. Seriously, the chassis is the main load-bearing frame that everything else gets bolted onto. Your engine, your transmission, the wheels, even your seats, they all attach to this core structure. It's the foundation that has to deal with every single force a car goes through: accelerating, braking, turning, and every pothole along the way. Now that we know what a chassis is, let's rewind the clock. We're going all the way back to the very beginning, to the original workhorse of the entire car world. Meet the ladder frame. And yeah, it looks pretty much exactly how it sounds. You've got two long, heavy steel rails connected by a bunch of cross members, just like, well, a ladder. This super simple, super rugged design was the standard for almost every car on the road right up until the early 1960s. The ladder frame is a classic case of give and take. On one hand, it's unbelievably strong and tough. That's why it's still the go-to for heavy-duty trucks and serious off-road machines. If you smash up the body, you can often just unbolt it and fix it. Easy. But all that strength means it's incredibly heavy, which is just awful for fuel economy. And its real weak spot is something called torsional rigidity, basically its resistance to twisting. It's kind of flexible, which makes the handling feel vague, almost like you're steering a boat. And here's why that matters today. When you see a huge pickup truck or a tough-as-nails SUV like a Fortuner or a Scorpio just crawling over rough terrain, that feeling of being absolutely indestructible, that comes directly from the century-old ladder frame design. It's simple, for sure, but it is brutally good at what it does. But let's be real. That boat-like handling was never going to cut it for the new world of everyday passenger cars. Engineers needed something totally different, and what they came up with was a true revolution in how cars are made. The problem was crystal clear. Cars were getting faster, roads were getting better, and drivers wanted more comfort and, most importantly, more safety. The heavy, flexy ladder frame just wasn't up to the task anymore. The mission was to create something lighter for better gas mileage, stiffer for sharper handling, and way safer in a crash. And the answer was the Monocoque chassis. It's French for single shell. And here's the genius part. Instead of a separate body bolted onto a heavy frame, the body is the frame. The floor, the pillars, the roof, it's all welded together into one single, lightweight, and super rigid box. This design is so good that today, 99% of all passenger cars are built this way. 99%. I mean, look at the difference when you put them side by side. It's night and day. The monocoque is lighter, which helps fuel economy. It's way more rigid, which is the secret sauce for crisp, predictable handling. But the biggest deal, the most important thing, is safety. This one idea is responsible for the single greatest leap forward in car safety ever. By making the whole body a single structure, engineers could design special areas, we call them crumble zones, to collapse in a very specific way during a crash, soaking up the impact and keeping the people inside a strong safety cage. So what's the bottom line here? It's simple. The switch to the monocoque chassis is the #1 reason why the car sitting in your driveway is safer, more efficient, better to drive, and has more space inside than the cars your grandparents drove. It was a total game changer. But of course, that's not the whole story. Mass market cars are one thing, but when you're chasing the absolute limits of performance, you need some specialized equipment. And this is where things get really cool. On the left, you're looking at a backbone chassis, famous in sports cars like the Lotus Elan. And on the right, that's a tubular space frame, the kind of wild stuff you'd find in a Lamborghini or a purebred race car. They look completely alien because they're built for just one purpose: raw performance. The backbone chassis is clever. It uses one strong central tunnel, the backbone, to give the car all its stiffness. It's a light and elegant design, perfect for a nimble little sports car. The tubular space frame, though, is a whole other animal. Here, engineers carefully weld dozens of tubes together to build this complex three-dimensional birdcage that is just phenomenally strong and incredibly light. It's the ultimate in chassis rigidity, but it's so complicated and expensive to build by hand that you could never use it for a normal production car. All right, let's fast forward to right now, because we're living through the biggest change in chassis design since the monocoque. The electric car revolution didn't just change how our cars are powered, it's changing the very shape of their skeletons. Just think about it for a second. When you get rid of the big, bulky gasoline engine, the transmission tunnel that runs down the middle of the car, and the whole exhaust system, suddenly you have all this free space to work with. This was a once-in-a-generation chance for engineers to completely reinvent the car's foundation with a totally blank sheet of paper. And this is what they came up with: the EV skateboard chassis. It is such a brilliant, elegant solution. It's a totally flat, self-contained platform that packs all the important stuff, the battery, the motors, the suspension, the brakes, into one single rolling unit. It's basically a fully working car that's just waiting for a body to be dropped on top of it. The advantages here are just massive. Spreading that heavy battery out across the floor gives the car a super low center of gravity. For you, the driver, that means amazing handling and stability. Because it's a modular platform, a car company can build a sedan, an SUV, and even a van all on the same basic skateboard, which drives down cost. And with no engine up front or tunnel inside, you get a ridiculously roomy interior. But wait, it doesn't even stop there. The next big thing, the holy grail of EV design, is the structural battery pack. Here, instead of just putting a battery in the chassis, the battery pack itself becomes a structural part of the chassis. The power source and the skeleton literally fuse into one piece, making the car even lighter and simpler. And that really captures where all of this is going. We're moving away from cars that are just a collection of separate parts bolted together, and we're heading towards a future where the structure, the body, and the energy source are all one seamless, super smart system. Which leaves us with a pretty wild question to think about. We started this journey with a simple ladder made of steel, and now we're getting to a place where the words we've used for 100 years are starting to fall apart. What does it even mean to call something a car when its bones, its skin, and its heart are all becoming one? The future of what we drive is being built right now on these incredible new skeletons. If you enjoyed this deep dive, do us a favor and hit like, share, and subscribe to The Car Explainer. You won't want to miss what we break down next.